to the Round Circle Podcast with your host, the Fifth General.
And Zaccheus.
And Cinemascapes.
All right. So today, we're going to talk about mainly, this is a show that's dedicated to Prodigy of Mobb Deep. By the time people listen to this episode, I know it's going to be a week later, but Prodigy died the day after our taping. So Prodigy died on the 20th. Let me do this. Let me first hand this to you, Cinema, so that you could talk about Prodigy and the events of what happened recently.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and this is coming from TMZ. It says, Prodigy choked on an egg Tuesday morning in the hospital where he had been getting treatment for a bout with sickle cell anemia. Multiple sources connected to Prodigy in the investigation into his death tell us he choked on an egg. However, it's still unclear that if that ultimately caused his death. And now this is an article from the 20th.
Okay.
So
yeah.
So to stay with the date because this show's taped.
Okay.
We've been told officials and trying to find out if it was choking or the sickle cell symptoms he had been battling for days. We're told Prodigy had to be pulled out of a fan meet and greet event after Saturday's night concert in Las Vegas because his security team noticed he was struggling. It appears his sickle cell was exasperated by the extreme desert temperatures. It was reported as hot as 110 degrees during the concert. The disease made him prone to dehydration and weakened his immune system.
Wow.
And so he's out.
So, okay.
Wow.
So, Prodigy means a lot for hip hop. Like we said off air, I would put his passing up there with a lot of our greats. We had Phife Dawg of Tribe Called Quest. Anybody you could think of, Biggie, Pac. Prodigy is from the legendary group Mobb Deep, and because of that, he's a legend too. You know? So I just want to, so Zaccheus, I'm going to hand it to you just a second though, but I just want everybody to share their opinion. So we all grew up loving hip hop.
Yes. Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay, so.
We could speak on it.
Zaccheus, I'll let you go first. What does Prodigy's death mean for you?
Wow. When I think about, you know what? I used to listen to Video Music Box. And I used to listen to the radio called Kiss FM when it was 98.7 Kiss FM in New York.
Yeah.
Every Saturday nights. So from those elements, those media of music, radio, I grew in love with hip hop for a long time. So when I heard Mobb Deep for the very first time, it was what was this song called? Survival of the Fittest, only the strong survive. I jumped when I heard Survival, the strong, when I seen the video and I'm like, oh man, these dudes are. Me and my brother, we were like, wow, yo, we gotta hear Mobb Deep again. So I would search for a cassette tape or any kind of mix with Mobb Deep. And I said, yeah, this is real hip hop. I embrace lyricism. And I embrace deep lyricism. Being an artist myself and being and listening to music and listening to hip hop, growing up loving hip hop and listening to hip hop, I embraced Mobb Deep as lyricists, especially coming out from Queensbridge. I'm like, oh, where they from? When you find out when you find out about a dope group or a dope MC, you want to find out where they're from. You go into depth and you're like, wait a minute, okay, Mobb Deep. Mobb Deep will always be in the category of like hot hip hop. Like this is real hip hop. And there's a shame that when you speak to like some of these kids that are like 22, 23 years old, they haven't like really got the enjoyment like we got growing up into hip hop. Like this is music. This is hip hop music, where these artists like Mobb Deep could come out with some hits like Shook One and Storm. The Storm with featuring Foxy Brown, Lil' Kim. And I'm like, man, he had a lot of he was on a lot of mixtape. I remember in July 2016 there was on the we used to submit music to this mixtape called Rock the Mic, and I seen Prodigy's name on it. I was like, wow, Prodigy's on the mixtape. This is July 2016. This mixtape was released. He had a song called Mystic on it, and I'm like, wow, okay, and I was like, wow, anything that's no one. As soon as I got the mixtape, I went I searched and I said, wait a minute, Prodigy's on it, so I played Prodigy's music because I know it's gonna be some dope music, dope MC. So him and Havoc been making good music for the longest time. The albums is great. If you want some classic, this is what Prodigy to me is like timeless hip hop. It doesn't get old. You can hear Shook Ones, you can hear Shook Ones, you can hear Survival of the Fittest, you can hear many music from Mobb Deep, and then and 10 years later, and it's like it's timeless. It's hot. This is what you call timeless hip hop. That's what you call timeless hip hop. Same category with Wu-Tang. That's what you call timeless hip hop music. And Nas, where the lyricism is so deep, the lyricism is like the music is great. It's just what you call timeless hip hop. It's not defined hip hop like where you hear is like, okay, that might go to the next few days, that kind of style. But this is timeless hip hop, where hip hop music where you could play it 10 years later, 20 years later, and you still bopping your head in the car. You're still bopping your head when you hear it in at your house or on your iPod. You're still bopping your head. That's Mobb Deep to me.
Before I get to you, Cinema, I just gotta ask you, Zaccheus, where is hip hop? I'm sorry. Where is Mobb Deep in your favorite rap group list? If you can give a number from 1 to 5, where would Mobb Deep be for you?
Mobb Deep, to me personally, because I used to buy their music. Mm-hmm. I actually had a cassette of Mobb Deep. Cause Mobb Deep to me would be number 2 or number 1 or number 2.
Who's number 1?
Number 1 was the Wu.
Okay, yeah, same
Wu.
As me.
Yeah,
I'll get into that.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cinema, so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, Mobb Deep number 2, and then I guess after Mobb Deep would be Tribe Call. Always enjoyed. Yeah, Tribe Call. Yeah.
Okay.
Always enjoyed the music. Mm-hmm.
All right, so I just wanted to get your opinion on that because I want to also get into rap groups real quick and mention that. That's why I wanted to ask you where were they on your list per se.
Mm-hmm.
And then that'll also give us a subject for another show in the future about rap groups. How we don't have today's music is when it comes to mainstream is moving away from rap groups. There's not a lot of rap groups like they used to be.
Oh no, I noticed.
It's mainly just a solo artist.
Yes.
So I just figured I'd say that for our listeners out there, what to expect from us in the future. So we're gonna talk about hip hop groups in another episode. Yeah. Cinema, same question. What does Prodigy's death mean for you?
It's really chilling. Because, we've been losing people like MJ and Prince. They're a little older than me.
Yeah.
Prodigy was born the same year I was.
Same as you, Zaccheus.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
This is somebody, we'll go back to the time where the Infamous came out. This is 95. I'm in the middle of audio school. I'm studying sound. I'm doing it, When I was in school, let's talk about stuff I listened to in school. There Is a Dark Side, Redman's second album. So, Resurrection came out. Common Sense, when he was still called Common Sense. Now he's Common. These are the things I'm listening to as I'm learning about audio. Excellent albums. And then this drops in 95. This is my second year of audio school. It drops in April. I get out of school in September. I hear Shook One's Part 2. We bring it, our teacher examines this thing, from a sound point of view. This thing is ridiculous. Me, cutting my teeth as a beat maker, I'm starting to get into stuff. I'm starting to get into the digital thing. I was learning Performer. Kids, you may not know what that is. And it ended up being Digital Performer, which I don't think some people still use it. I don't know, because I don't use it anymore. But, from a production standpoint, when you hear that, you know,
Yeah.
Havoc's production. I put Havoc up there, and people get mad because I put Havoc up there with Primo, Dilla, and all of them. Because Havoc, I think he's a very underrated producer.
He deserves to be there. He deserves to be up there with RZA, Primo, and Dr. Dre. No, he belongs up there.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because the innovation of putting together a combination of samples and that musical and that combination of the production on that album is just ridiculous.
Havoc said, I don't want to cut you off, but I just want to just kind of put this in real quick. Havoc said he sampled the stove, like when you first turn it on, a gas stove, and you because it's trying to catch flame.
Yes.
That's what That's what he did. He sampled that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So anytime you hear that beat, it's the most recognizable beat when the track starts because you know it's Shook Ones.
But
that's the history of Shook Ones.
And it's the sound of the projects. Yeah, it's the sound of the project, which makes it ridiculous. Because that ticking, until you're trying to figure out, what that sound is. Because I grew up in the projects, so
same here. Yeah.
So you hear that, and you're like, it's just a take of. It's like when Eric Sermon used the birds chirping in Headbanger. It's just a moment. It's genius. So basically, you're talking about someone who's learning about engineering, who's trying to fine tune their production, who's about to go into circles, doing things on the down low and learning a lot. And so that really whet my appetite, because, that and Eric Sermon, what I was listening to in audio school, basically I was doing a jazzy type of production growing up on Tribe.
Yeah.
This was really Mobb Deep, Prodigy's lyricism, because, I was listening to The Cube, I was listening to Common, I was listening to Nas, then they, what happened was when this album came, hip hop turned another corner. It turned another corner, and his contribution to hip hop is so valuable. Whether you followed him or you thought it was an album, that song is one of the most recognizable songs. And then you hear the beat, like even when you heard the beat in 8th Mile, you're like, oh yeah, because when you hear that beat, it's about to go down because ain't no such thing as halfway crooks. Look, it's shit. You hear that when music makes an imprint, a timeless imprint like that, it cannot be denied. It cannot be denied. And so at the formative years, like when I'm learning how to engineer and things, that was a very crucial album. Because then you got MOP coming. That sound, I love that sound. And so, it was like me becoming who I was, coming up, being a kid, experimenting, having having my partner back then, and my partner, we going around with Chubster, and then it's like, okay, definitely, this is the direction that this is what I like. This is, I don't want to copy them, but I love the feel of it, the feeling it's giving me. I want this, this is the kind of, it's real, it's genuine. And it's their personal experience, it's their hunger. They were hungry, and you can hear it on that record. And
man.
They came with it. Survival of the fittest. Oh my goodness. It's just, and so all of that, when I heard Prodigy, first thing I did was text my brother. Because, the memories you share your people with. Hip hop, I always share with my brother. He's the first person I was like, I got to let him know. I couldn't believe it. And like I said it on my Instagram. This one hurts.
Yeah.
It does. It hurt because, musically, that would be like me losing Stevie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you guys know musically, and it's like MJ was almost, and it's MJ was like that, Michael Jackson was like that for me musically. Somebody else, and that whole weekend I had been listening to Michael Jackson before he died, and I was listening to Mobb Deep before Prodigy died, and it bugged me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like, yo, let me listen to Mobb Deep. I haven't listened to Mobb Deep in a minute,
Yes.
I was just feeling it. And then all of a sudden you turn around, I'm looking down the Facebook feed, and my first reaction was, man, this is,
I thought it was a hoax at first. I really did, because
I went and checked, because you know how you check. Then you make sure, then you see TMZ got it, and you're like, dag, is real.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're hoping they're wrong. So I wasn't posting nothing. And learn this, kids. If you're on the internet, go check credible sites before you start posting things off.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's important.
But it just hit me. It stopped me from what I was doing. I was actually doing something, and I didn't finish it that day because it was that important, and then, I had to let everybody know, make sure everybody know, when you lose a great one like that, people like this, people who are unique don't walk around, they come once in a lifetime. There's not going to be another Prodigy. There's not going to be another Havoc. Havoc's still here. We should appreciate the greatness while they're here. And that's the one thing that's bittersweet about these kind of things and these shows for me, because it's like we should do it, like Master P had been saying, we should give them the flowers while they're here.
Yes, it's true. You're right.
We'll get into Master P's statement about Prodigy's death in a second. So here's my take on Prodigy's death and what it means for me. It means a lot for me. I'm a little younger than you guys. Well, maybe not a little, but I don't want to make you guys seem old, but I'm okay. We're 12 years apart.
Yeah.
Okay? Just about. So I was a kid when Mobb Deep came out. So for me, when it comes to hip hop standards, they set a standard for me, for my young years. They were one of those standards for me. On a personal side, musically, my music sounds the way it does because of them. In part. I mainly give a lot of that to Wu-Tang. But for me, when it comes to hip hop groups, Wu-Tang is number one for me, and number two is Mobb Deep. So it goes to show you how important I hold Mobb Deep in my hip hop life. I've always followed Mobb Deep throughout their career. Through Prodigy's solo career, Havoc's solo career.
Yeah.
I would say that I never really thought, and it's just my honest opinion, I never really thought in terms of lyricism that Prodigy was the greatest, but he had a very unique flow, and he was a good songwriter. I mean, he has so many songs that I'll put against guys who are maybe lyrically superior than him. His songs are better than theirs.
Right.
I mean, Prodigy has rapped on some of the greatest beats ever. Not just Havoc's beats, but Alchemist.
Yes.
And any collaborations that Prodigy has had. Prodigy has a great taste. What that tells me is that Prodigy has a great taste in music. Because even though he may not be on a Cannabis or a Nas or Pharoah Monch lyrical level, musically, this guy knows exactly what to rap on. I mean, it's just something about him. Here's my thing about Prodigy and Mobb Deep as a whole, especially Prodigy. I'll say, anytime Prodigy is on something, in my mind, I'm like, it gotta be good, because it's just something about him and his taste in music, And so it means a lot to me. Mobb Deep is one of the reasons why I do hip hop today. And Prodigy is just as much as Mobb Deep as Havoc is. You can't say Mobb Deep without Prodigy, or Havoc. It's just how it's just what it is. I first heard this news from Zaccheus. Zaccheus called me. I didn't even want to believe it. I immediately went on Facebook to see if there was any reactions. Okay, and one of the first sources I saw that talked about it was OK Player.
Yeah.
Ambrosia for Heads.
Yeah.
And then who's that? I think Atlanta Black Star.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just when I started to see more credible sources popped up, I said, no, this is real. This is not a hoax. This is not fake, and I didn't want to believe it. So, and Cinema, just like you said, how you text you contacted your brother, same thing I did. I contacted my older brother. I was like, yo, man, Prodigy died, and you know, my brother put me on the hip hop because he was older than me. Me and my brother are 7 years apart, and I'm pretty sure it's kind of like that, Cinema, with you and your brother, because you're the younger brother. So anything that he took a hold to, he shared it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what my brother did. And so for me, when it comes to hip hop albums, The Infamous is one of my favorite albums of all time. And it's just his death is just, like I said, I put that up there with our hip hop pioneers who passed. It's because Prodigy is a pioneer. Mobb Deep are legends; they're pioneers. You can't name anybody they haven't influenced. When you talk to a lot of artists out there who don't even necessarily sound like, they may not necessarily have that boom bap sound that Mobb Deep has contributed to.
Yes,
but even they'll tell you, yo, man, Prodigy inspired me. And just to kind of segue into what happened with the BET Awards, let me make this date right because, we're taped. So let's see. June 25th, the BET Hip Hop Awards happened. Havoc and Lil' Kim came out and did a little brief tribute with words. No music, just with words, before they introduced the Best Male Hip Hop category. Kendrick won the award. Kendrick Lamar. He got up there and he said that Prodigy and Mobb Deep inspired him personally because he named his first mixtape after Prodigy's first solo album, HNIC. He said his mixtape was called Why HNIC. So Kendrick, to I guess my opinion, and I'm pretty sure you guys will share this too, Kendrick Lamar doesn't remind me of Mobb Deep at all.
Right.
But it just goes to show how somebody who doesn't sound like that still is inspired. So I'm pretty sure he personally, maybe on a solo tip or even as a group, has inspired many hip hop artists that we know of today, and also of that present time, because Mobb Deep made hip hop peers step their game up. That is a fact.
Yes, he did.
And Nas being one of them. Okay, and Wu-Tang being one of them too.
Yes.
As ahead of Wu-Tang was ahead of their time, but even they would have to give respects
to Mobb Deep,
and they were friends with Mobb Deep.
Yes,
so that's like family anyway.
Yeah,
Same thing with Nas. That's like family. Yes. And the one thing I want to say personally, because we all rep Staten Island, right?
Yeah.
There's something about the Staten Island Queens connection. I don't know what that is.
It's true.
But there's something about a Staten Island and Queens connection when it comes to hip hop.
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe it comes from Wu-Tang and their affiliations. Maybe it comes from the similarities between our boroughs. Our boroughs have, even though Queens is way bigger and way more built up than Staten Island, but there are segregational and community things that we share in common with Queens. And so anybody who's from Queens who's been to Staten Island, frequently visited or lived in both places would kind of agree to some sort that there is some type of Staten Island Queens connection. It jumps over Brooklyn for some reason. But I noticed there's a Staten Island and Queens hip hop connection. I noticed. So just to kind of briefly take a break from Prodigy just for a second, I mentioned the BET Awards.
Yes. Oh yes.
And how, like I said, Prodigy and how Havoc and Lil Kim came out and did a little tribute to Prodigy.
Mm-hmm.
So for anybody who has seen the awards, I just want to break this in and get this over with because it is current, and then it'll make sense to why I'm bringing this up. Other than
yeah.
So, can anybody tell me what the observation was of this year's BET Awards? Zaccheus, you go first. I'm sorry.
Well, I caught a glimpse of it. I didn't really because this BET Awards show it's always our platform. Like I said before, it's a platform for us to have the best performances. When we're not recognizing the VMA or the Grammys, this is a platform for Black music to get facts and recognize and to be in the platform where we don't. This is a show for us to run home and watch. Put it that way. To be excited about, and for this year it wasn't so how would I say, glamorous. I mean, they had some great performances. Big up to New Edition. And a few other artists that really stood out there, maybe Chris Brown and Kendrick when he came out, which I think he should have had his own platform. He
should have had his own set.
Yeah, his own set.
He just the album he just dropped. He should have had his own set.
Yes, true, exactly.
Definitely.
You know what? It's funny that you mentioned that. Everybody, we're gonna get back into Prodigy. This show is dedicated to him, but I just want to talk about the hip hop award. I mean,
BET Awards. No, BET Awards.
Cinema. I'm gonna let you get the floor. What's your estimation? And then when it comes back to me, I'm gonna bring up something important about who I felt should have performed at the awards.
I didn't catch them all because Sundays I travel back up to New York and back, and so when I got back, I've caught some performances. I was watching the New Edition, The Escape. I like The Escape. They had a week, and a lot of people were, nostalgic. A lot of people were hating on it, but I'm like, it's a week. But if they're gonna do a tour, they'll have enough rehearsal. And it was a nice, quick turnaround thing. But it's nice to see them back together.
Yeah.
And
yes.
And I'm happy about that because they're one of my favorite groups.
It's good for R&B.
It's good for R&B.
Yes,
yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
And so a lot of good things happen in the show. I'm not going to speak on performances because I haven't really seen the show in context.
Right.
But basically, out of what I've seen, I enjoyed the New Edition thing. I enjoyed the New Edition miniseries as well.
Oh, yeah, the miniseries? Yes.
Yeah, and my sister basically grew up with New Edition everywhere in her room. So, when I was young, I was a captive audience. And there's other things I want to check out. I want to see the Maxwell thing. I didn't get a chance to see everything today. It's getting replayed tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm DVRing it. I should have DVR'd it last night, but I totally forgot. I had other things to do. But, but basically overall, it's like performance-wise, some of it is the bad sound they've had over the years. Because obviously you could see the faces. Sometimes what we're hearing on TV is not what they're hearing in the room.
Right.
So you not being there and watching over TV, you don't know totally if it's the mix on TV or that or vice versa. So basically, basically people are getting drug on Twitter. So I have to watch it before I comment on people getting drug on Twitter. But I've seen some funny videos and shared some on my Instagram. because I love the internet after anything happens. But basically, what I've seen, after it's a letdown because last year was Prince and everybody and their grandma came out, and you can't follow up following up a show like that is tough.
Right.
Then we had certain people like Nikki who didn't come because Remy Ma won an award.
Yeah, I think they tell people if they're gonna win before they show up.
Yeah,
I have a feeling.
Yeah,
or they tell them who's gonna win, so they.
What's up with Nikki's hiding from Remy Ma all the time, huh?
I mean, well,
Sheetha was hot, but the follow up I won't comment on. But
yeah, Sheetha was enough. But if Remy was gonna be in the building, then my fair assessment of that is that Nikki wasn't gonna be there, and I'm not saying that Nikki is scared of her. I'm just saying that if you have a category and you're nominating Nikki and Remy, and Nikki's not scheduled there to perform, then the only thing Nikki would do is show up to just watch the show. If Nikki is not involved with this is my fair assessment of Nicki Minaj in the history of the BET Awards. If she's not scheduled to do anything there, she's not there.
She hasn't been, and the whole thing is she could be doing. She's about her business. So speculation, beef, whatever. We love beef. That's how the public loves it. Yeah. So you have a lot of things going on. So a lot of things are fueled. I think, because of the letdown of last year, people are critical after you have a show like that, and so you have to settle down and let it. And then, of course, it's the opinion of what people like. Mm-hmm. Bruno Mars, one of my favorite albums of the year, engineered to ridiculous as far as R&B. Right. I'll give him that album. I'll give him that.
Yes.
That's but out of all that, it was just that happens at the BET Awards. More outrageous things have happened at the BET Awards than that, and we know the history. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you got the little chippiness and the beat, but then you got the nice dedication.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and so the show's pretty much planned. With Prince, they had time because it happened way before the show came. But like the other year when Michael died, remember it was so close. That
was the same week.
Right.
Wow,
and so
it
was hard. And then you didn't really get a tribute to the next year because certain people couldn't come.
Yeah, we had to wait a year for Chris Brown's tribute to him.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's what had happened.
And you're talking about somebody who works with him, who was getting mentored by him, who performed with the official track, which made him break down because he heard my MJ in the background. Man in the mirror. He was performing with the official track, and Jermaine was standing on the side of the stage.
And Chris Brown broke down?
He did.
Yeah. As soon as he heard,
he couldn't even sing the song.
As soon as he heard Michael's background,
he couldn't sing the song.
Wow. I wouldn't have been able to either.
Yeah.
If you know somebody,
he had to let the audience sing the song.
Yeah, because it's because imagine a year you didn't get to do it,
mm-hmm.
and then
you had to wait a whole year.
Yeah. And you think you're over it, and then you just hear somebody's voice. Yeah. That's just, And so when you're dealing with the other ones, so Prince, they had time. So that's why you had a lot of people come. You had Bilal tear up. You had Sheila and Edom you had a lot of Prince dedication in the middle of all the other performances last year. So you had a balanced show. So how do you follow that? It's hard. So big ups to BET for doing what they could. Because, the average person doesn't think about those things. So, the letdown is just natural. So what you think, Fifth?
Well, I haven't, like just like you guys, I haven't seen the whole thing. I came home from work, and I came home the same time they started the New Edition honor, when they honored New Edition, which was the best performance. I'm going to go ahead and guess that was the best performance that whole night, even though I didn't see the others. I'm just saying.
Right.
But it probably should have ended with that performance, because the performances after that, anyway. So, but the one thing that I take from New Edition is my favorite New Edition member will always be Bobby Brown. That's just me. I love Bobby.
Bobby, Bobby, of course. Music,
so
Bobby.
I love so it's good to see him. It's good to see him with them. A lot of times when we see New Edition, we don't see Bobby. We're starting to see him lately because their relationships have gotten better.
Gotten better over the years,
which I'm glad that I could see that, in my
And Bobby
lifetime. Yeah.
And Bobby ain't disappearing no more.
No, Bobby is doing his best to
keep cleaning everything.
to keep with their schedule and
Yeah.
everything. And you know, Johnny Gill announced that they're going on tour, and the tour is going to be promoted by Floyd Mayweather's The Money Team.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
So sounds like they're in good hands.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, because it's like, you know, with, you know, and it's not even a knock on Bobby, with the things off, you know, that
Right.
we don't get to see in people's lives.
Right.
You do not know. And so definitely wish him the best, because, you know, that's everybody's favorite, because Bobby obviously transcended that group when he went solo.
Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah.
And the writing, the creativity in that, you know, and all the loss he's experienced.
Yes, which is tough. Very hard, man.
And this is why I want this for him. You know, I want this for him because of what we publicly know about Bobby.
Right.
A lot of stuff, a lot of Bobby's business has been put on blast.
Yeah.
You know, compared to all the other members of that crew.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, Bobby's going to be the most talked about. He's the most polarizing figure in that whole group. Some would say, and this is, some would say when it comes to raw talent, not vocal ability, because I'm giving that to Johnny Gill.
Yes.
But some would say when it comes to raw talent overall, singing, dancing, songwriting, and even I have to give him production credit because he plays instruments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That he is probably the best out of that group. Some would argue that it would be him. You know what I'm saying? The movie showed us that he was one of the big reasons why they were a group.
Yes.
I mean, we could talk about Michael Bivins, but the New Edition movie that they did on BET shows us that it's like Bobby and Michael. It's like Bobby and Michael Bivins, basically. But Bobby is like one of the biggest reasons why they exist.
See,
because
I heard he even have a book out called Every Little Step I Take. He has a book.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That I got to do some more research on that.
Yeah.
But you know,
and
go
Bobby
ahead.
Bobby has a drive. There's people who have it, you know, who stand out, like Timberlake out of NSYNC, for example. He had the drive of the group. And that doesn't discredit everybody else in the group. You just always have a standout. Hip hop, Busta, LONS, even though everybody in the group didn't want to accept it.
Right.
Busta was the standout.
Right.
Oh yeah, he was. And Leaders of the New School,
true.
right? Yeah, Busta.
And it became evident because the longevity, Busta's still doing stuff, Snoop's still doing stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
yeah.
Well, I would say that's like Prodigy. And Mobb
Prodigy's
Deep. Prodigy's the standout, but we know that Havoc is the brainchild of their sound.
Yes, sound. Right.
But Prodigy was the standout. That's actually true.
Yeah, Prodigy was a standout. Yeah, he
and
was.
That happens, and it doesn't make any other piece of the group less valuable.
Right.
It's just it's like that's the whole thing is you have a self-driven, everyone's more self-driven, so it makes it harder to have a group.
Yes.
And so the one thing I'm glad about Mobb Deep is that they came back together.
Yeah. And let's segue that into this. So he has sickle cell anemia, right?
Oh yeah, boy.
So I'm gonna name two other people. I'll just keep it with the three other people that we know of, that the world may know of. So we know T-Boz has it.
Yeah.
I just recently found out before the show started that actor Lorenz Tate has it.
Didn't know that. Wow.
You know, former running back of the New York Giants, Tiki Barber, he has it.
Wow.
You know, and you know, it's sad that this young brother at 42 had to go. And you know what? One of the things that I see people doing now is that, especially in the black community, because sickle cell anemia seems to be that trait that we see mainly in the black community. Right?
Yes.
The you know, the black Africa and Africa diaspora. So basically, that's counting all of us, okay, around the world. That of melanated people around the world. So Zaccheus get into what sickle cell is. Give us like a
Okay.
good overview of what it is and its effects.
Yeah, for those who don't know what sickle cell is described as a group of inherited red blood cell disorders. People with the sickle cell disease have abnormal hemoglobin S, or sickle cell. Sickle cell is it's like the red blood cells that turn into a sickle, and they say that it's basically among the black people, and it's inherited from the parents. From the parents, it goes on to the children. Now, some children, and it goes on to their children. Some people have the trait, sickle cell trait, meaning that it's not disease is not basically, it's there, but it's not triggered. No, some people have the sickle cell. Now, I've heard of some people that have the sickle cell trait, so they cannot marry somebody that has a sickle disease, or they cannot marry somebody that has a sickle cell trait, or they pass it down to their kids. Now,
wow.
Yeah, so people who inherited two abnormal genes, one from each parent, and it comes in all forms. I didn't even know it comes in all forms, but at least one or two abnormal genes causes a person's body to make the sickle cell. One, when a person has common, often most severe kind. Well, I didn't know they had a severe kind of sickle cell, but I guess they have some sickle cells that are more stronger than others. It's like a cell tissues that need a steady supply of oxygen to work well normally. And it triggers the red blood cells, which takes a form of a sickle. That's what they call it, sickle cells. It's a form of a sickle. That curve, that half a moon curve in the cell. Shape of cells it's also flexible, so it moves through the large, small blood vessels to deliver oxygen. Now, the sickle cell disease is like inherited. So once you have it, there's no way to get rid of it.
Yeah,
it's just in your DNA. It's just in your DNA.
Right. So
basically,
you're saying like there's no
cure. Yeah.
There's no cure for
sickle cell. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it's mainly attacks the red blood cells, sticks on the red vessels and the red blood cells, and it causes health term is the sickle cell, and it mainly affects the black people in all that aspect. And some people believe that it only affects African Americans that's born here, which is false, because it affects other regions too. And I used to hear that growing up. Well, sickle cell only affects Africa. You don't have to worry about it because sickle cell only affects African Americans. That's not true.
No.
It affects people from the Caribbean and in Africa too.
Even some Native Americans,
yeah,
have had sickle cell.
Mm-hmm.
So that I've heard. It's these are some things that I've heard throughout my life. That you mainly hear it with black folks, but you do hear it with others. It's like kind of it's an anomaly for others. So I guess it's like for instance, what's that? ALS.
Yeah.
ALS you mainly hear with that of the Caucasian, right? You hear that more so. You hear that more so with European descendants.
Yes.
As whereas with sickle cell, you hear that more of African descendants.
Yeah.
So I don't know if ALS is the equivalent to sickle cell for them, but I know that some diseases are commonly heard between a particular group. Sickle cell seems to be one of those things that you hear tied to us, but I have heard where Native Americans and other what you would call indigenous tribes who have had it. Maybe that might explain. Well, maybe that could explain this, because a lot of us have had families with many indigenous groups throughout the North American, South American region, due to us being forced into slavery together. Okay, so that might explain maybe that, but black people from America only being the only ones. No, that's bullcrap.
Yeah, and if you do some research, it would say that too. That people, African Americans in the United States, is common among African Americans in the United States, and it also says that also that the life expectancy is between the ages 40 to 60. Among life expectancy as far as living with it, age 40 to 60. So your life expectancy is not so long with that disease, you know.
So I want to
which is crazy.
Right. I want to read real quick a statement from Prodigy a while back when he was talking about his struggles with sickle cell. Now, this is according to AtlantaBlackStar.com. So I'm going to read as as follows. According to rapper Prodigy of the rap duo Mobb Deep, in quotations, I was diagnosed with sickle cell when I was 3 months old. I have the worst type of sickle cell, the SS type. If I don't take care of myself and do the right things, I will experience a severely painful sickle cell crisis. All of my joints hurt. It's a bad scene. Before I really knew how to take care of myself, I was in and out of the hospital. They had me on morphine for pain, IVs in my arm, couldn't get comfortable for days at a time. It was really hard on my body. End quote. This sounds like something I heard T-Boz say of TLC.
She has SS form?
No, I don't. Not so much. I don't know. I don't know about the SS form, but these are the things that I've heard her talk about, how in the hospital and her joints hurting and stuff like that. You know, I know somebody who personally has sickle cell. Somebody that that I knew at my grandfather's church. She got it.
Yeah.
You know, and she might have that SS type because it sounds like the same thing. She is she's not in her 40s yet, but she's in her 30s, late 30s. She's like around the same age as my brother.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm sure when she heard that, probably made her feel some type of way. Because what you got, you can relate to others. You know, you can relate to others' pain if you're experiencing the same type of pain. So I want to say, before we get more into Prodigy Mobb Deep's history, God bless his family.
Yes.
God bless Havoc. You know, his brother, his very close friend. And, you know, I wish everybody the best, you know, who's close to Prodigy.
Yes.
You know? So Cinema, let's do this. Now, let's talk about Mobb Deep's career, because you know there's no Mobb Deep without Prodigy. One thing about Prodigy is that, you know, he to me is not only just well, okay, so he means a lot for hip hop. He also means a lot locally for Queens hip hop, New York hip hop. Mobb Deep, I think, is one of those hip hop groups that saved New York during the East Coast West Coast beef.
Yeah.
Cinema, can you speak about that? Your opinion about that?
Oh, New York, big city of dreams. LA.
Yep.
Just two songs that were released and really nothing came out of it.
Right.
But, you know, basically you got hooks, but verses are not really about New York or LA.
Right.
So you have Snoop, and I forgot who else was involved in that.
Dog Pound.
The Dog Pound. That's right.
Yeah.
So New York, big city, your dreams.
Right.
You know,
and then you had
hopping over New York in green screen.
Yep.
Kicking over
the 10 towers at the time.
New York buildings, and you know the one.
I seen the video.
The one thing, and he, you know, Mobb Deep's reaction was this, because that song was on Capone Noriega's album, The War Report, classic album. And so, you know, they was just, you know, Prodigy talked about that on the Beef DVD. Like, he was like, you know, we just did that song, you know, because we felt like, yo, you know, you doing New York, and you know, walking in the buildings. Okay, then all right, let's do LA. You know what I mean? You know, so That was Mobb Deep with Capone and Noriega and Tragedy Gaddafi. You know what I mean? So
it's a very iconic hip hop line.
It is.
New York, big city. You drink,
right?
You might get fooled if you come from out of town.
Yeah, right.
But I'm down by law and I know my way around.
Right.
So I understand if dudes from LA, taking that line, you're like, okay. So they made the song. Yeah, right. Continue.
Right. So no, but I just want to say, like, would you agree that Mobb Deep was one of those groups that really saved New York hip hop? You know, they're part of that. They're part of that.
Basically, they're one of those groups that were like, that rep New York to,
Yeah.
Yeah, QB New York.
And I say if you don't have Mobb Deep doing that, you don't have Fabulous coming down later. get that little way. Talking about, defending New York when no one was defending New York.
Right.
It created a standard. That's one of those things like, okay, you put my name in your mouth, I'm going to put your name in my mouth.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically it ended there in, LA. And some hot verses, and really the hook had nothing to do with the song. Another hot song. Okay. So we benefit.
Right. Because they were involved in that. At the time Tupac called out everybody back then. And Mobb Deep, Nas, they would, Mobb Deep was one of those people he called out. Yeah,
and so
right, you got answered.
So that put them in, but and the one thing about Prodigy that we also know of, from a modern sense, is his beef is with Jay-Z.
Yeah,
on the Takeover was about Prodigy and Nas.
Yeah,
and then Nas did Ether going at Jay and the whole Rockefeller, but then you had well, before I get into that, let's just talk about this. So let's just go through their albums, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we got Juvenile Hell, which was their first one that a lot of people do not know about.
Yeah, they were really, really young.
Right. A lot of people really don't. A lot of people got to be reminded that that's their first, because a lot of people think Infamous was their first. Infamous just happened to be the album that put them on the map.
Yeah,
right.
Put them on the map.
95 put them on there. Juvenile Hell was
93.
93.
Right.
Yep.
So then we had Infamous was known for Survival of the Fittest.
Yep.
Shook Ones Part 2. An Eye for an Eye featuring Raekwon.
I like that.
Nas,
I always like that joint. Yep.
Give Up the Goods, one of my favorite records. G-O-D. Wait, hold on. I don't want to ruin that. I don't want to get that on the wrong album. Hold on. G-O-D Part 3 might have been on. I had that wrong. I spoke too soon. We're going to move on to Hell on Earth next.
Yep, 96.
Right. So G-O-D Part 3 was on Hell on Earth.
Nice.
And then you got the song Hell on Earth, And that was another great album, actually. It was a very good follow-up.
Yeah.
Then, we had Murder Music. Oh.
99.
Jesus Christ, that album. All right, let me spend a second on Murder Music. Just briefly. The only reason why is because Quiet Storm. And then the Quiet Storm remix with Lil' Kim.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
This is just my opinion. Don't get me wrong. I love Hell on Earth. But for some reason, when Murder Music came out and Quiet Storm and the Quiet Storm remix, that seemed to put them back in the chart topping. Because at the time of 99, we just did a series about hip hop for sale. What did we say specifically about 1999 with hip hop? We started to see a shift, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because we had the bling era.
The bling era. Mm-hmm.
The reason why this album is so important is because they were able to come out when hip hop was in a quagmire, okay? And they were able to still shut the game down and say, yeah, you got this stuff coming out on this side, but yo, Mobb Deep, we still gonna be Mobb Deep.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The production on that album was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that album. The Infamous is my favorite album from them. But Murder Music is another album that for me is on a repeat. You know what I mean? I would have to say with Hell on Earth, you know, you had one of my favorite Mobb Deep songs ever on Hell on Earth is Still Shining. That beat,
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Oh my God, that beat is sick.
Mm-hmm.
I swear, if we didn't get copyright notices, man, I play it right now. But,
Exactly.
But it's their albums, and then you got after Murder Music,
Infamy.
You had Infamy 2001.
Yeah.
Another good album. That was the album where Prodigy made his response to Jay-Z.
Jay-Z. Okay.
That joint Crawling.
Yeah.
And that was another good album. That album had Lil Mo on it. It has some features on.
And that's an album people didn't listen to until later, and then they're like, "What? Yeah, you missed it."
Right. Well, because that, you know why? Because that album may not have been as strong as Murder Music, because Murder Music was a hard act to follow. But they had success off of Infamy as well. You had Burn, which was a good single. I mean, you had a couple of singles on there that actually got made some noise.
Right.
Then you have after that.
And then that's 2001 where
Infamy 2001. Yep.
Right, because the whole thing is, this is where video, reality television was starting to kill the video stations.
Yeah.
And so people who are listening at this point aren't using the media outlets to get to the music as much.
106 and Park era.
Yeah.
Right.
Around that time.
Yeah, remember that. Yeah.
106.
Right.
Yeah.
And 106 was changing then too.
It was.
Yeah.
And so you don't have the support. Hip hop lost the support system. We went through this before, but a lot of good albums around that time didn't get heard.
Infamy, you're right. Infamy was an album that went under the radar. Because I was in high school when Infamy came out.
Right.
So I guess I'm telling my age.
Right, and I was in Ohio.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. So we're talking about the Jay-Z Nas beef time.
Right.
This was around that time.
I remember that time.
This was also around the time of a lot of beefs, actually. I mean, where there were mixtapes, DJ mixtapes back then.
Yeah,
where the term mixtape actually made sense still. Where DJ K Slay, his mixtapes, the Drama Hours.
Yeah, you were here on the radio.
The
all
drama,
the time.
right?
Yeah.
The Drama mixtape, the Drama Hours. This is around this time. And like I said, this was a 106 and Park time as well.
Yeah.
So you had albums that went under the radar, but you had songs like that stuck out. So you had, you had. So we're talking about a time. I mean, and then 9/11 time. So you had an economy. You had an economy issue too, because 9/11 tore down the economy temporarily. You know, so a lot of music wasn't being bought. Period.
Yeah,
around that time.
It was very slow with music sales. Very slow with music sales. Yeah.
Except Jay's album, people went out on 9/11.
They sure did. They sure did. Despite
I will never forget that.
Fabulous had an album drop. Him too. Him and Fabulous had an album drop at the same time.
Was that the Blueprint album that Dre dropped?
Blueprint.
Oh my goodness! People still went on bought that album.
Yeah.
During the economic crisis.
Well, I was one of them later on. I didn't buy it that day, but I bought it the following week.
I bought it that week.
Yeah.
Right, as soon as things calmed down,
Yeah.
I found out my family was safe because I wasn't home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he wasn't home, and he was, down where he was living, and so, I'm on the phone trying to make sure everybody's all right because I'm at school.
Right.
Yeah, at the time I wasn't in New York. That's true. Me and Cinema weren't in New York at the time of 9/11.
No, I was still here in Staten Island.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that was my last semester of school. I had to do an extra.
So I know exactly what you're talking about. You trying to get in contact with family, But yeah, so around that time, that's what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's fast forward to America's Nightmare. That had that joint, Get It Twisted. I like that joint.
Yes.
Yeah. So, then you had we got to move ahead a little bit for time situation, but
Money.
Then we had Blood Money. That was the album through G Unit.
Blood Money.
That had Put Them in Their Place. That had what's that other joint they had with Nate Dogg? They had a joint with Nate Dogg, I think.
Oh, they did? Yeah. Yo, he did. I remember the joint he did with. I don't know if you remember that joint. He did a song with a reggae artist called Bounty Killer. Dance over. Yeah.
Yeah, Prodigy did.
Yeah, Prodigy did. Yeah. Yeah. I remember that joint.
Prodigy did a record with Shaq. Well,
Yes.
Mobb Deep period. They did a record with Shaq.
And
So
let's not
yes, they
forget
did.
No, they did. He did. Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
they did.
Yeah,
and it was
man.
good.
And it was hot. You know what I'm saying?
It
like
was fire.
it was.
I admit it.
Mhm.
It was fun. And then the two joints he did with LL, I Shot You in Queens.
Oh yeah, that was hot. That was a hot joint. That was
Right.
a crazy joint.
Well, see, Pac
Remember that
thought,
video, yeah.
here's the
Mhm.
thing. Real quick, Pac thought I Shot You was talking about him because the I Shot You remix was around the same time as Biggie's Who Shot You? So
and it had nothing to do
and
with
it
him.
had nothing to do. It had nothing to do with him.
It was just a fire track.
Although I thought Keith Murray's verse.
Oh,
Let's
I shot you. I shot you. Right, that joint.
This is just my opinion. Keith Murray's verse was very strong and aggressive,
Yes.
and I thought,
With a bitty Mac to your back. Yeah, that was.
as
was
soon as
crazy.
you
That was
overreact,
crazy.
the LOD look good conversation event. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
I love the Norman Bates. I love the hate
nature.
because
I
you was
love
a
the
freak by nature. You know what I'm
I remember
saying?
that, I remember, that just set the table for Prodigy right there to come in though. That did. I was like,
but,
man.
But then Prodigy's verse was, and you didn't really hear a lot of artists say this.
Illuminati.
He said, Illuminati with my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society trying to keep the eyes on me.
I remember that. Yep.
That's my blood. Yeah.
And a lot of people not talking about Illuminati back then. They wasn't.
He wasn't.
They wasn't.
But he
No.
did. So that's another thing. And I Shot You was what? 95, right?
95,
Well,
yeah. I think 93. No, 95,
Hold on.
95.
Let me look it up.
Yeah, look it up because that was on on LL's
That's
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith album.
Mr.
So
Smith, yeah. Yeah, I remember that album, man. Oh my gosh.
95. That was 95.
95,
See?
yeah, 95, yeah.
Same year as Infamous.
same year as Infamous. You know what I'm saying? And another thing about Mobb Deep is their affiliations. I mean, there's a lot of guys that collab with Mobb Deep that I wouldn't know of if it wasn't for listening to them. You know what I'm saying? Like Big Rapper Noid.
Yeah, Noid.
Noid was like that. He was like that third member. He was basically the Capadon of the Wu-Tang Clan. You know what I mean? He was just that, and anytime they did something, you expected to hear him, and I thank Mobb Deep for that. Real quick, after Blood Money, because that was when they did with 50, they did the infamous Mobb Deep. Now that was their reunion album because for a while they didn't talk.
20.
You know,
Yeah,
and that was 2014,
2014.
and that was a good album as well.
Yeah, very good.
So Prodigy, within that time, released some solo albums. Let's go to that. I got to kind of push this along.
Yeah, he jumped on a lot of mixtapes. I realized
he jumped. He had a lot of features. He had a. You know what?
I was on that mixtape with him.
Real quick.
Called
he got signed off of a mixtape, and they pushed the mixtape out. Koch Music did one of his mixtapes.
Right.
Yeah, Koch Music did. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, when it comes to like his solo albums, you know, HNIC, which I love that.
Yeah.
one.
HNIC, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, you know, then he had part 2, HNIC part 2. You know, he had an album he did. I really like like a lot. He did an album with Alchemist, the Albert Einstein album.
Yeah.
Great production on that album.
Yeah.
And I think he was working on another one with Alchemist, and it's sad because he's gone. So I don't know if he got it finished.
I like that joint he did with Nina Sky and Alchemist. Remember that joint?
You talk okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Now we're talking about Alchemist First Infantry compilation album.
Yes, yeah.
No, that was hot. That was basically another Mobb Deep album. Because you had a lot of, especially Prodigy. Prodigy had a lot of solo features on that album.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that. So, Alchemist is part of Mobb Deep's history as well because of the production. Alchemist is somebody who came later.
Yeah.
You know. So Mobb Deep. So it's like Havoc is Mobb Deep sound, but then I would also have to say that Alchemist is a Mobb Deep sound as well. They're keeping within their Mobb Deep sound.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I would give that a comparison to this. I would say like, you know, RZA is Wu-Tang sound. Mm-hmm. But then you had True Master and Fourth Disciple. Mm-hmm. They are also Wu-Tang sound. And I will say just as good as RZA. I'm gonna go on record and say that. I don't think anybody. I didn't say better, but just as good. We can expect a Wu-Tang sound. You know, say we had a Wu-Tang Clan album. This is probably for another show, but I just went into it. I'm gonna move back to Mobb Deep. Say we had a Wu-Tang Clan album.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That just Fourth Disciple and True Master produced.
Yes.
That would still be a hot album.
Still be a hot album. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We want RZA, but the point I'm making is if you had a Mobb Deep album and Havoc didn't make not one beat, but Alchemist made all the beats, it would still be a hot album because Alchemist understood the formula. Mm-hmm. Alchemist has his personal sound.
Yes.
But then he that away from Mobb Deep, but then there's a formula that he knows that he treated very dearly with Mobb Deep. So Mobb Deep could trust Alchemist.
Yes.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so, you know, so let's kind of move. I know I'm kind of jumping, but we got to make sure we get to some things. So, the another thing about Mobb Deep, record label situations. I want to get into it real quick. Loud Records.
Loud Records, okay.
They were part of. I mean, Loud Records had Wu-Tang, you know, Mobb Deep, of course. You know, Big Pun, Beat Nuts,
yeah.
You know, the Alcoholics, Exhibit. You know, I mean that. You know, and then also you had Raekwon have his solo deal with them, Inspector Deck solo deal.
Yeah.
You know that label gave birth to a lot of great hip hop, and then those who were with other labels got with Loud
Music. Yeah.
You know, and the infamous, Loud Records plays a pivotal role in Mobb Deep's success. And we were talking about that off air. Cinema, if you could speak on that, what would be your fair assessment of Mobb Deep and their relation with Loud Records?
Well, when, you know, the first album, when you had labels back then, you could experiment with artists, sign the artists and let them develop. It's not so much they want you developed when they sign you now. They let you do those stages on your own. So you had the Infamous kind of snuck up on the industry because, you know, the first album was good. They were young.
Right.
They were very young. And so you have a lot of youth, a lot of passion. Then you give them 93 to 95? You give them a couple of years. And then they just came with a classic basically found their stride.
Right.
And let's not even try to say like there was nothing good on Juvenile. That's not true. There was good stuff on Juvenile that I still listen to,
Mm-hmm.
But it's like
it was their
it's
weakest though. It was their
it-
weakest album though.
But
either.
they just started out,
it's like Tribe before Low End Theory. Let's just say that.
Okay. I get what you mean though. I do get what you
Something
mean.
similar.
Yeah, I do.
And I love the album before Low End Theory.
Right.
But when you put that out and then you put something like that out,
Right.
that you took a jump that took you into your identity.
When usually people have the sophomore jinx,
Right.
where their first album is so great, their second album is doo doo.
They pulled the Redman.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Redman's first album was ridiculous. Redman's first album is hot, but Redman's second album was ridiculous.
Yes,
You're
it
like,
was. Yeah.
What?
It was. Yeah.
I remember
There was a dark side.
I remember the Redman era. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
That is not. That is. I tell you, because if
Redman,
Muddy Waters didn't exist, that would be my favorite Redman album.
Yeah. That's true.
Straight up.
Yeah.
But Muddy Waters is fire.
It is. That's a classic.
So
Yeah.
let's go. Getting back to Mobb Deep.
Right.
You had a good album. You had a lot of promise. Then these dudes, when a lot of dudes falter, and you hit this, boom,
Yeah.
ridiculous, classic,
Yeah.
and you're like, and so basically you have a label that has Wu, that has all this stuff going on in '95. And it just Loud explodes.
Loud was competing with, they were competing with Def Jam at the time. And at that
Right.
time, Def Jam, had it's funny, you just talked about Redman. They had Method Man, Redman, LL Cool J.
Cool J, yeah.
You had
DMX was
you
on
had
it too?
you had DMX coming up
Yeah.
because DMX was 90.
Yeah.
He was late 90s.
Late 96, 97. About
Right.
98, yeah.
Right. I
Right.
think. I
Yeah,
think
97.
right. I think
97, 98. 97, 98.
It's Dark and Hell is Hot had
Yeah.
to release between
Right.
97,
97.
around that time,
98,
97, 98 or whatever.
98,
So, but and Mobb Deep was still with Loud at the time.
mhm.
And you remember, this is the same time There Is a Dark Side is out. I'm in audio school,
Yeah.
and Bomb Squad album's out. Like
Son.
we're listening to Redman, we're listening to Mobb Deep, we're
Right.
listening to all this in the car going home after audio school. Like, oh, this drop,
It was a great time in hip hop
It's
around
just-
that time because
Right.
you had in that era that you're referring to. Okay, let's keep it Loud Def Jam, right?
Yeah, okay.
Just because I brought that up because Loud. So you had the Wu, okay? So you had them dropping. You had Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Links.
Oh, I remember that album. That was crazy.
You
That
had
album was
the
crazy, yeah.
Tikal album. You had because Jizz's Liquid Swords was with Loud. I mean, come on, but then you had Tikal on the Def Jam side, and Method Man and Jizza or Wu-Tang members, but Method Man had a solo deal with Def Jam. Had the group deal was with Loud, but the solo deal was with Def Jam. So you had friendly competition because they were all cool. Mobb Deep, Wu-Tang,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Redman, like they were all cool. You know what I'm saying?
Then you had the beginnings of other things from other labels. Like
Right.
the Roots' second album hit, but that's the year of Do You Want More? And me and my brother were listening to Do You Want More by the Roots. And that's really their second album. I had Organics too before that.
Right.
Because, 96, Illa Philadelphia Life is coming out. DMX is about to hit, hip hop is about to go beyond these two labels because you're about to hit that era where everything is just fire.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you have the rumblings of Common Sense coming out with his second album, which was stronger. He gets a hit single. Even, he's about to break through. He hasn't broken through yet. You know what I'm saying? And so
But you know what? Yeah.
this album was like the beginning of that, because if you're in the studio and you hear that, it's time for you to step your game up. It's like when Tribe dropped Midnight Marauders.
Right.
Everyone had to step there. Infamous made you step. There's a dark side, and the Infamous is out on these two labels.
Right.
If you're listening to these two albums like I am,
yes,
as an MC, that's when I started getting serious about writing. And like, if I'm gonna make it in this business,
yeah, I mean, even an album that, because they did like an album. Mobb Deep did an album. For the Mobb Deep fans out there, they're not gonna forgive me if I don't mention this, but they had the Free Agents album, right?
Right.
A lot of people don't necessarily count that as a studio album per se, but that was an album nonetheless. It had, joints on there like they had a joint with 50 Cent back then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I forgot the they had a video with it too.
Bump That. They had that record.
Yeah. A little bit.
And they had a joint that was on Cormega's album Killer's Theme, which was a sick joint. I think they had a joint called The Illest. So the one thing about Mobb Deep is that one thing I can say with them, because we just mentioned the competition at the time. I could thank Mobb Deep for this. No matter what time and what era it was, they stayed true to their sound.
Yes. Even Havoc said it too. He said we signed with G Unit, but we never changed our sound. Like we kept
I
to our
agree
sound.
with that.
Yeah.
They didn't necessarily change. Well, here's my assessment of that album.
Yes.
Blood Money was cool, but Blood Money is like a different album for them. Different in the sense that, you had 50 Cent all over that album. I mean, I'm not saying anything negative about that, but Mobb Deep's sound around the time of Blood Money was a little more modernized, but it was still Mobb Deep. So I don't dislike the album. I like the album because they have some records on there that are good. It's interesting because Mobb Deep had on Blood Money, and I want to highlight this. He had a song called "If I Make It to Heaven," and it was featuring 50 Cent. On that song, Prodigy talked about his condition, and sad. I mean, I could only take from what his take is from it. That's not something I live with, but that song was a very personal record. Right. Very personal verse. I mean, I'm listening to Prodigy's verse, and his energy on that song sounds like he's hurt. It's just something. I don't know if he intent for the song to be that way.
Yeah.
But when it got to Prodigy's verse, his verse was like on some why I got this.
Right.
God, why me type stuff. You know what I mean? So, that's a record that sticks out. But the one thing I recognize from Mobb Deep is like what I said before. Anytime I hear that Mobb Deep is going to be on, whether it's on a soundtrack to a movie, which they've appeared on several, whether it be on anybody else's album featurette, the one thing I could count on is that the song more than likely has a high chance of being good. Another sad thing about Prodigy's death is that just recently, AZ released a video with Prodigy and Raekwon on it.
Oh, so it's yes, I seen that video. Yes.
So Prodigy dying is crazy because it's fresh in my head. Like Cinema, you said here you was listening to Mobb Deep, and all of a sudden, you hear him, that he passed. And you're like, dang, man, I was just listening. I was just
right. I just saw something, right, and it impacts you more like that because it's fresh with you, because it's a part of you. It's something you enjoy, something you listen to. So, though, and then now you just got what could have been, because it's cut short.
Yeah,
it's like what could have been if these two were hanging out. What could have been the future? Because there's a lot of rumblings in the underground, and there's a lot of good music being made right now. There's a lot of people back in the studio making heat.
Yeah, and when they came up with that record with AZ and Raekwon and P, when they did that record, I said, good. Conscious hip hop is coming back again.
Exactly.
And I said, good. We need and that.
It's a nice record.
Yeah. This is where records, even with our music, you know, it's coming back in circle again, and they feel that even the young people that's 22, 20 something years old is feeling that, oh well, I guess there's a need for it.
But the whole thing is, there's no authenticity in music right now. It's more industry, like we discussed. And
oh man,
these are one of those artists that when you listen to them, you feel like it's real. It's like if I'm listening to Mobb Deep, if I'm listening to Redman, if I'm listening to to Common, I feel them. Even if they're experimenting with their sound, the core of what they're doing is them. And it always has been. And there's a lot of others, I'm just pulling a couple, but there's a lot of people. It's like when LL did Authentic a couple of years ago. I love that album, and a lot of people haven't heard it. But, if I'm enjoying it, I don't care. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to support it. Because if you're going to do something authentic to you and I enjoy it and it's good, I'm definitely supporting that.
For sure.
And that's the whole thing is everything comes in cycles. So you just ride it out. And maybe this will be the wake-up call that people need before these people are gone.
Yeah.
You have this artistry.
T-Boss from TLC.
Yeah.
Because like we mentioned earlier that she has sickle cell. Lorenz Tate, Tiki Barber from the former running back from the New York Giants.
And then Miles Davis, even back in the days, if you want to hit.
Right, Miles. Yeah, I forgot all about that.
He has sickle cell?
Well, Miles Davis is not here with us, but Miles Davis was another known person
just
with
to let
sickle cell. Just right, for information's sake, we're going to mention him.
Right.
But I'm specifically talking about the ones that are still with us,
Right, I know.
Yeah, so we definitely got to celebrate them while they're here. Master P. So let's jump into this before we close out. Cinema, you mentioned what Master P said. Let's go into. So you take the floor on that one. You talk about that video and how it's going viral right now. Talk about what he basically was saying.
Basically, he's talking about appreciating people, like where we were heading. Give them his flowers. The dedication's nice, but could he gotten tickets into the thing last week? No. Let's give people their flowers while they're still here to smell them.
Right.
Go into deeper detail on why he said that. This was his response to Havoc and Lil' Kim coming out there.
Yeah.
He wasn't talking about Havoc and Lil' Kim. He was just saying that BT.
No, because Prodigy wouldn't have got tickets into those awards.
Right. That's what I wanted you to say.
Yep.
Master P Master P had a bone to pick with BT. That's what that was about. Right, okay, Cinema, go back in.
Right. And so, it's definitely not Havoc. And so he, and he's absolutely right. These guys are legends once they're gone, but they never get to enjoy that. They never get celebrated.
Right.
And they're gone. And that's a problem. And we were talking off camera about how Eminem was saying good things about Tretch with Ice-T. And there's a video on Boom Bap, I don't know what the date is, where they play it for Tretch. And Tretch says, I have the same respect, but it's something about now where no one shows respect.
I've never seen Mobb Deep perform. Okay, so let's stick with BET Awards.
Right.
I've never seen Mobb Deep perform on a BET Awards stage. Why is that?
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
That's why I understand what Master P is saying.
It's true.
Right.
It's true.
Because when you're hot, and when you're not. And then if you want to do industry, and it's like you have the Hip Hop Awards, you have the Hip Hop Honors, you can at least get them on that.
Right.
And it's like if you're really concerned, or if you're a marketing company or you're a big company, and I'm not coming out against BET because it's a corporation. It's like somebody has to answer to somebody who has to answer to somebody who has to answer to somebody.
Right.
And some people on the top may never even hear any rumblings from the bottom if someone makes a suggestion. So I'm just going to put that out there. But it's like if you're not in the commercial thing, if you're not quote unquote hop, they're not paying attention to you until you die. Right. And that's the simplest way to say it. to stay classy, you know? And so that's the problem. These guys, their condition, these guys are out here grinding. Why wait?
Right.
Why can't these guys be amongst the guys and just get respect? You don't even have to sit them in the front. Why can't dude just get a ticket? Why can't dude just get celebrated? Work hard, be humble, and all those things.
Exactly. And I feel like, maybe when BET does their BET Hip Hop Awards that they do usually later on in the year, that maybe they'll do a musical tribute to Prodigy. I don't know. If they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. Whatever. But I feel like when it comes to acknowledgement, when it comes to hip hop artists, I mean, I didn't see that with Tribe Called Quest either. Phife Dawg had passed in between this time of the
Grammys gave Phife Dawg props, and the Grammys will probably do that because the Grammys is more artists voting for artists, and they mention every artist who has been a part of their community, and that's something these other places need to step up. Right. Tribe got to perform on the Grammys. Right. Have we seen them on the BET stage lately?
No.
Have we seen Busta?
No.
Who do they invite every year? So, let's just keep it real.
Yeah.
Let's just look at everybody, and that's their decision. That's how they roll.
Right.
And
it's so true. It's so true. Because has Mobb Deep ever been on the hip hop awards show?
I don't know about the BET Hip Hop. The BET Hip Hop Awards, the one they do separately.
Yeah.
That one's still fairly new. It's only been like 5 or 6 of them. But the annual BET Awards, there's been over 10, 15. I mean, I'm just saying, like, there's probably been like, 20? I don't know how many years they've done these annual awards. Yeah. But there's been enough in between when its inception until now, and Mobb Deep has still been active during that time. Yeah. So I've never seen Mobb Deep perform on a BET Awards stage. I'm saying, I actually agree with Master P.
Me too.
I understand his sentiment because he's saying like, this is what he said. He said a week ago, this man couldn't even get in this building, and then you want to acknowledge him?
Wow, yeah.
So I understand what Master P said. So when I die, they're gonna give me His point was, while we're here, do it. Don't I'm here now. Okay, fine, but don't wait till I leave, and then now you want to talk. I get what he's saying.
I get what he's saying too. Yeah, it is so true.
It's totally valid.
But see, this is why we need to have our own. Okay, let's just keep it real. BET is not black owned. It hasn't been black owned since Bob Johnson sold it to Viacom years ago. Okay, so they don't care. The care for the culture is going to be different.
Yeah,
let's just keep it real.
Definitely.
So that would explain why we haven't seen what we should have been seeing. Right. That explains that. If the Source Awards were still going, if the Vibe Awards and the Source Awards were still going strong, then maybe I probably expected to see it better there. Mm-hmm. But we don't have those awards no more. Because I actually wouldn't. No, if this was the Source Awards, trust me, that would be taken care of.
Oh yeah, the Source Awards. Yeah,
that would be taken care of.
Wu would have been on there. Mobb Deep would have been on there. They would still have been on there.
That
Tribe Called, they would have been on there.
That would have been taken care of, and I wouldn't even have to worry about that.
Even Kara's One would have been recognized. This is crazy.
Everybody would have been recognized. Well,
crazy,
first off, the Source magazine is, especially at the earlier time, true hip hop magazine source for news, for hip hop news. I mean, I used to buy that magazine faithfully.
I remember buying Source. Oh yeah, Source magazine. I remember.
So I trust them. Mm-hmm. I'm saying if there was a Source, hopefully still owned by the right people, if there was a Source Awards right now, on whether it's on BET or Revolt, you know what? Which brings me to this question. Revolt is owned by Diddy. Revolt should have an award show on the level I'm talking about.
No doubt. But to be real,
yeah.
Where are our artists touring? Where's De La? Where did even Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff do their current show? All overseas.
Overseas. Well, Mobb Deep included. They were overseas.
Exactly.
De La, these past couple of years.
Yep.
Every time I'm checking in on De La, it's like, okay, when they'll make an American pass through because they got to play dives here.
Yeah.
But they're making their money overseas.
Yeah.
Why? And I'm gonna mention this without going, too deep into it.
Yeah.
Me and my dad had a discussion about this.
Mm-hmm.
Why is everybody else studying our music and culture and it's abandoned here?
Well, I can, and
we know the answer, but
because we talked about that on Hip Hop for Sale series.
I know, but why does it take Prodigy to die for him to be acknowledged? Other than a few of us who listen to their music all the time,
right?
And fans, people, our friends in our circle, we talk about this stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But they're overseas making their money, and it's hard for me to get to see a show like this week. Redman and Method Man are right here in Philly. How come no one's talking about it?
Man, I ain't even know about that.
I didn't know about that. No.
Exactly. I just found out about it because this is what you got to do, people. You got to get on Facebook and follow your artists and turn your notifications on and your locations because this is how you're going to find it now. We got to use the technology like everybody else does.
Well, you know what?
The media is not going to stand for it. And the whole thing is with Prodigy, we got all that stuff's on YouTube because Loud's not around. There's no copyright things on their music. You could go listen to the music. Their new stuff's on YouTube because of the format. If you got Apple Music or something, go check out the music for yourself. Get in contact with these people. Follow these artists, especially if you love them. They're out there still making a living.
Yeah.
And
see,
they're out there. Diggable Planets is traveling again.
See, I didn't even know that. Diggable Planets? Wow. I'm
Christ.
cool like that? Whoa. Wow, Diggable Planets?
And I found out this by accident. Hit a link, hit a site. Oh, snap.
Yeah.
And that's how it's been because it's a disrespect to these people. And then you're going to want to say, oh, we love Diggable Planets. They died. That was our song. Where were you?
You know
It's like when I go to jazz. I went to see Esperanza Spalding. She stepped in DE. I'm there. See? Then I was next week in Philly. If you love these artists, let's get out there and start supporting them. So these will be real tributes, not regret. A lot of people got regret.
No, they have the Art of Rap show with Raekwon and Ghostface. They got I heard that Mobb Deep was supposed to be on that one too.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they have DMX is on it too.
Yeah.
Player has an interview with Prodigy that Quest put back up if you go to the OK Player site too, where he talked very candidly. There's a lot of good stuff up. And, start going to these outlets. If these outlets are going to have the information in the groups you like, start supporting these outlets.
It's true.
I support the music with my money. I always do. Well, we know that. We all do.
So the one thing that I respect of the rock and roll community is that they celebrate their legends all the time, any chance they get.
Wow. Exactly.
And hip hop needs to do that. The reason why we don't see it in hip hop is because of the culture vultures. That's the reason why we don't see that.
Yeah,
that's why.
Speak on it. Facts. Speak on it.
And then we're gonna have to close up because we're an hour and a half. So I'm gonna say this real quick, and whatever you guys got to say before your final thoughts. So
okay.
The culture vultures do not have respect for the past, especially if that contributed to a healthy environment for this culture. They're not going to care about that of a Wu-Tang or Mobb Deep. They're not going to care about them. So this is why you don't see that acknowledgement. The this is how we're gonna save hip hop. You got to get rid of all of the culture vultures. They got to go. They have to.
Yes, you're
You
right.
gotta-
You're right.
To me,
or make them non-relevant to where it doesn't matter.
okay,
Because
that you
don't
could do that.
don't give them a seat. Don't
Yeah.
give them power.
Yeah,
Because pretty much, if you're gonna give them the power, they're gonna do what it's like a corporation. They're gonna do what a corporation does. A culture vulture is gonna, do what they do. They're gonna just think about themselves.
Yeah.
They're not gonna think about the road behind, and they're not thinking about the future. They're not even trying to show nobody else how to do what they do. They want it for themselves.
yeah. So that's gonna involve a lot of boycotting, And you know what? I want these artists to understand something. And this is probably gonna lead into our next episode about independent artists.
Yeah.
There's no label without you, okay? The artist. I'm speaking to the artist. There's no label without you. I know they teach you there's no you without the label. But there's no label without you. If Beyonce decided today to walk away from Columbia or Sony Music, well, Sony owns Columbia, BMG and all that. But if Beyonce said, all right, that's it. I'm done with you guys. Because of the money that they're making off Beyonce, they're probably gonna They're probably gonna try to rewrite her a deal that nobody else has ever done. She'll probably have the best deal in music history,
like Stevie in the 70s.
exactly, or James Brown. So
Exactly.
But the point I'm making is the power is in the talent.
Mhm.
The business side, Beyonce, you already know now. Jay-Z, you know the business. All of these people who came in who didn't know the business side in and out, they know it now. So it's okay to walk away.
Yes, it's okay.
But that's your decision because you got a family, whatever, you got mouths to feed. The point I'm making is we don't have to let these culture vultures tell us and dictate to us how we're going to live with a gift that we were born with.
Amen. Amen.
You know? And so this is why I will pay a personal respect to Prodigy, because Prodigy went independent later on in his career. Mobb Deep went, went independent more in their career.
Yes.
You know, they got their fan base. They did what they needed to do.
Yes.
First off, their fan base never left. I never left. I grew up with
Neither
Mobb Deep.
did I.
I never left them.
That's right.
If you know what, that goes for anybody that I follow. Look, stay true to your art. Stay true to yourself.
Always.
Have fun with what you do.
Always.
And you got a fan for life. That's how I am.
Yes.
You know? So before we do our closing statements, Zaccheus, anything you want to say before we close out?
Yeah, man. I'm glad we did this segment on Prodigy. And,
Yes.
we reflected on the music, but we also reflected on the business too aspect of Prodigy and Havoc. Yo, I just want to say that we need to buy back hip hop. We need to buy it back because, as you can see that, and I see it, and people that's been grown up, cinema, people that grew up into hip hop and been listening to it for decades and decades, know that the ingredients is not there, like it was. The authenticity and the love for it is like it's the cultural vultures get it, and it's like, I got my hot ones, so forget the rest. I got my hot ones, so forget the pioneers. Forget the ones who started the game. Who forget KRS. Forget, Mobb Deep. Forget Nas. It's like don't pay homage to the artists. But one thing with the other genres, they do pay. I noticed that even with gospel, they do pay homage to their pioneers. They do go reflect on their pioneers, and they pay homage to their pioneers, like James Cleveland and so on. We need to do the same thing with hip hop. We need to bring it back to a place where it once was. Of course, there's gonna be other influences, but if we can just bring it back to where it used to be, then we could see a difference. It won't sound everything sound the same on the radio. It will be different styles, like how the golden era was. Everybody had their own sound. You can tell what sound was unique. What sound was okay there. That's Tribe Called. Oh yeah, that's Diggable Planets. Oh yeah. That's Main Source. Oh, yo, yeah, that's special ed. Oh, yeah, remember that's every day. Remember that, yeah. So it needs to get back into that essence of identifying who is who, and big up to the artists today that's doing that, that's keeping real to the game, keeping true to the game, I can name some of them, but we know we run out of time, but it's true. So we need to bring it back to that. So that's my word.
All right, Cinema.
Yeah, basically, I'm gonna end on this thought. When you get legendary people like music like hip hop, which grew out of nothing, and then you get, there's stuff in the Bible teaches this. First generation discovers it, second generation walks in it, third generation usually discards it. We're in third generation hip hop.
Jesus.
Wow.
This is Prodigy and them was second generation, because I grew up listening to them, and they walked hip hop.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
KRS took up that mantle, was second generation, and they walked it.
Yes.
And we saw what it could be. Now we're at the generation who forgets. And so what happens? You got to spark another thing. Somebody has to be revived. And what happens is people don't want to do the reviving part because it's hard. You got to be indie, you got to fight, and then you got to finally find your audience.
Mm-hmm.
And so what De La didn't have their contract, was rocking the show, got re-signed to the same label, Stakes is High album comes out. Why? Because this is who they are.
Mm-hmm.
See, the whole thing is you can't pretend to be hip-hop, because when you can't hip-hop no more and nobody don't want to hear you, you're going to quit. If it's not you, this is why Mobb Deep is hip-hop. Mobb Deep is still active. De La, still active. Tribe, still active.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Cube, still active.
Yeah, Public Enemy.
Common, still, all still active.
Mm-hmm.
Rockin' Show,
Mm-hmm.
because KRS-One, still active.
Eric B. and Rakim, I believe. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Rakim's still active. The whole thing is, this is who they are. That's the difference between today's artists and where's the people who fell off 5 years ago who were popular? Are they even trying to do anything? Third generation. What you have to do is get people who want something real. We have to introduce them to these people. We have to introduce them to the prodigies. We got to introduce them to the commons that are around. Commons making stuff like Black America again. You got to get out and support that. That stuff is one, when you get something quality, and that's one thing. Hip hop is having kids now, and you're watching kids listen to this stuff with their parents, and they're loving this,
Yes.
and they're just,
Yes.
and that's where my hope is, because this generation that's out here now, they were the first technological age. We didn't know what we were dealing with. Now with technology, the kids having Apple Music, like including my nephew. My nephew listens to stuff and he just hears it and he likes it. And they're coming up and they're starting to make music.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing is, we got to be ready for them. So if this generation doesn't want to hear, we'll go to the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll grab them by the hand.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we've had to skip a generation before. In the Bible, they had to skip a generation before.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why the purity will always be there, because it's the core. Hip hop is you. It's your expression of you. It's not a music. KRS-One said it best. The culture, the music, rap, and all that is just expressions. People can do the expressions for bling, and they'll take this stuff away from the expression of hip hop. But hip hop will always be what hip hop is, and that's culture.
Yes.
That's like you can't. I live in a world. I may work a job, but you can't take. If I'm a Christian, that's who I am. 24/7. If hip hop is what if that's the culture I live in, that's what I do. I don't have to think about it. It's natural.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So kids are being raised in it naturally right now, because we're having kids. You have kids.
Yes. Yes.
And so they're seeing what you're seeing. They're loving what you love.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we're getting it back, because everyone gets old, even that generation. When we're gone, the seed will be in the next generation, and it could come back. And the whole thing is you got to teach respect and stuff. The culture teaches the respect and all those things. When you take that away, then you have the wildness that you have, because people didn't want to listen to the culture. You're in third generation. So the final thought is, if you want them to get back to it, expose them. Kids like what you like. I know that. I was a kindergarten teacher.
See,
my kids listen to what I am and what I listen to, and it set the tone. It sets the tone for their life. But you want them to be creative. Mm-hmm. See, it would be hip hop if they found their own style. If this style was real and they were authentic people, the sound wouldn't matter, because it would be the core. You would still have hip hop because you had that in the 90s. The whole sound changed, but you still had hip hop. But now you got a sound that's really corporations putting a kid there to convince you thing and putting a false culture out there, having kids chasing things. And someone did a joke, and it was like how, okay, we're talking about drugs, talking about I'm drug dealing to get by. Then, now it's like drug dealers glamorous, and now people are using drugs. It was a parody joke, but it was so true. And with the verses, because he was a comedian, he made it fun. He made it funny. But that's the thing about comedy. There's realness in comedy, but that's a sidebar. You can keep that for yourself. But basically, this is what we're dealing with. If you want real, you got to show them the real. You got to show them how to live it. See, you can talk it all day, but if you don't live it, I can tell you don't live it. Prodigy lived it.
Yes.
That's under my statement.
All right, so here's my last words for today's episode. So, hip hop gave birth to Prodigy. Hip hop gave birth to Havoc. And together, these two friends, brothers, came together and formed a legendary group called Mobb Deep. Mobb Deep has inspired everybody from their time on, and I would say even inspired those who came before them. Prodigy is not only a Queens legend or a Left Rack City legend. He's not only just a New York legend, he's not just an East Coast legend, he's a hip-hop legend.
That's right. Yeah.
The one thing I'll take from Prodigy's passing is this, you never know how long you're going to have someone, man.
Exactly.
You gotta show them all the love and respect and cherish every time with them before they leave, His passing, for me, is pretty serious because, like I said, if it wasn't for Mobb Deep, I wouldn't be doing what I do musically, If it wasn't for hip hop as a whole, we wouldn't be doing this type of program, A lot of people have made money off of this genre, culture. Some would argue hip hop is not a culture; it's just a community, a genre.
I heard that before many times.
That's fine, but for us, we love it, we celebrate it, but we also feel that hip hop has responsibilities.
Yeah.
The one thing that I felt from Prodigy and Mobb Deep as a whole is that I can't say that they were trying to save hip hop per se or do everything in the name of hip hop, but I could say that they were true to themselves.
Right.
Prodigy's flow didn't sound like anybody else that I have heard. Both of them, both Prodigy and Havoc, had their own particular flow. They had their own style, and they made other people step up their game when it comes to putting out albums from start to finish, and also from a production standpoint on your beats. It's something that is hard. This is a hard loss. I mean, I've heard people on Facebook, hip hop fans who, they said they cried. Some, cried when they said, when they found out about Prodigy. Some have said, wow, this is the biggest death since Pac and Biggie. Mm-hmm. Some have said, yo, this is up there. We lost Phife Dawg. Now we lose him. This is too much, too soon.
Heavy D, yeah.
Right.
And so, because Phife Dawg being recent, Phife Dawg was a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So, I actually know it's probably been a year since Phife Dawg, I think now.
It's been almost a year, I believe, yeah.
But this one is a tough one. I love what Mobb Deep has done for hip hop. I love what Mobb Deep has done for me personally. And they're the reason why I rap and produce. One of the reasons I've always held Mobb Deep to a very high standard. Havoc is Mobb Deep. Prodigy is Mobb Deep. There's no Mobb Deep without any of them. Havoc is the only Mobb Deep member left. I trust that Havoc will continue the legacy of Prodigy. Prodigy has left a legacy of artists. Kendrick Lamar said it himself during his BET Awards speech. He said that Prodigy influenced him. So if that's safe to say, then it's safe to say that Kendrick Lamar is part of Prodigy's legacy.
Yeah,
and this is from Kendrick's own mouth. So I just want to say that we're gonna miss Prodigy. I'm gonna miss him. I know we're all gonna miss him. We all said that.
Yeah.
I want to say God bless his family. I want to say God bless Havoc and his family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rapper Noid. Shout outs to Nas.
Yeah.
Marley Marl.
Cool G Rap.
Anybody who has had close friendships with Prodigy. Capone and Noriega. Anybody who's a Comega.
Raekwon, I believe that.
Nature, Raekwon, Ghostface. Method Man has done work with Mobb Deep personally. Just Wu-Tang as a whole has friends with Mobb Deep, and AZ, another relationship there. And I just want to say God bless all of them, and we love all you guys, and that's pretty much all I gotta say. Prodigy lives forever.
Yep.
All right, Cinema. Where can they reach you?
Look up Cinemascapes, Twitter, Instagram, and I have a Facebook page. If you find the MySpace, don't go to it. It's not active. But yeah, Cinemascapes. You'll find me enough there, and then you could contact me there.
Okay. Zaccheus, where can they reach you?
Oh yeah, you can reach me on Facebook on Wayne Bacchus, BACCHUS. Also on Twitter, Wayne Bacchus 2. You can reach me at Wayne Bacchus 2. That's on Twitter. On Instagram, you can reach me at Zaccheus, ZACCHEUS B73. That's on Instagram.
All right. You could reach me at The Fifth General on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All right. Oh, anybody have anything else to promote before we go?
Yeah, so got my book is still on sale right now. The Bad Man, a Thug and a Gangster. It's available on Amazon, eBay, ebooks. It's soon gonna be available in Barnes and Noble soon. So go get yourself a copy. You can just go to Amazon. Go right now. You can go to Amazon / Wayne Bacchus, Wayne Wayne Bacchus, Bacchus. Go copy a copy of that book, action drama book. It's fun. It's a fun read for the summer. Go pick it up.
Cinema, have anything to promote?
Yeah, I got a single under my government, Shamik Jones, Shamik Jones. It's a pop single at the end of the day. And I'll let you know when some Cinemascapes music is coming. You'll hear it here first. But I'm doing a lot of things. So stay tuned. So it's called At the End of the Day. It's on Apple Music. It's on Spotify. It's on Tidal. It's everywhere.
That's what's up.
Oh yeah.
I don't really have much to promote other than just this show. For those who've been listening, just remember the Round Circle is new episodes every Monday on YouTube and audiomac.com.
Yeah.
We will soon be coming to iTunes podcasts and Google Play and SoundCloud.
Yeah, all that.
That costs money, so bear with us. We'll be there. But for those who are listening to us on the two platforms I just mentioned, we want to thank you. We also want to thank you for keeping up with us and supporting us. The Example album by Zaccheus and the Fifth General.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Been available for a good couple years now, but classic music.
It's a classic album, classic hip hop album. Yeah.
So we not only just get on this microphone and rock on this microphone through podcasting, but me and this brother, all of us on this podcast, we all do great music, and we would like that you support it. We want you to keep supporting the show.
Yeah, man. That album is everywhere, man. It's
everywhere.
It's
iTunes,
everywhere.
Amazon, Spotify.
It's called The Example.
Title, The Example.
The Example, yeah.
Zaccheus and the Fifth General. So, also, if you wanted, it's been a while since I said this, but I have to. If anybody wants to do business with us, promote, anybody wants to do any type of commercials or anything, we'll put it right on the show. Put it right on here for people to hit. If you want to do business with us, you could either contact any one of us. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Any one of us at ways of contact. We'll take care of that. We'll take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Definitely.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's get up out of here. This is the Fifth General signing off.
Zaccheus
and Cinemascapes.
All right. This is the Round Circle Podcast. Next episode, Independence Day.
Oh yeah,
Independence Day. We're going to be talking about independent artists who have done things very well, artists who have been mainstream, who have gone independently to run in life, those who it worked out for, and also to tell the other side of the story is who it didn't work out well for. All right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're going to get up out of here. See y'all next time.
Peace.
Peace.